everybody, welcome to MUSE TV. We are here for a great and funny film, Reboot Camp. We have director Ivo Raza and we have star Chaz Bono. What is it about? What happened with this idea and what did you come up with it and how did everything get started?
It's a topic that I am very interested in, always have been. And so I wanted to explore it further. It's beyond watching some documentaries and reading some books about it. I had this idea that started forming in my head. I apologize for the dings. I do not know how to turn them off. My messenger is
That is
off.
okay. That is okay.
And so once I started researching and getting deeper into it, I realized how much of a system there is in manipulating people, and I figured that would be a wonderful structure for the story, which is using some of these steps that these con artists use to manipulate people and seduce them into joining their organizations, and in all kinds of ways manipulate them into doing things that they would normally not consider doing. Here we are, and we have the film.
Yeah. And Chaz, you come into the film almost halfway, and I loved your character. I loved the way you played it. What was it about the script that you wanted to be a part of this film?
Well, I thought it was funny. I really kind of love the mockumentary format for a comedy. Some of my favorite films have been that, starting with Spinal Tap, and I too kind of have been really interested in like cults and things like that, really my whole life. So I like the subject matter, and I thought there was an important message, in there, though it's certainly not heavy-handed. And I think most of the important thing is you're going to get a great laugh out of this, but it does kind of show how people can be manipulated as well, which is important.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the times that we're going through right now, where we're
For
seeing
sure.
we always seen manipulation in all different forms in all different sectors of society. How was it, Ivo? How was it writing that line? Like, I know it seemed like you wanted to say you want to show more, but yet sometimes you feel like holding back. Was there a lot of holding back in what you wanted to show and what you wanted to put out there?
That's a very good question. There was holding back in the sense that, because it is a comedy and it's not treating the material with the seriousness that it deserves, you couldn't go into certain more serious manipulations that I was learning about through my research that happen in these cults, because a lot, there's a lot of nefarious activities, and so you can't make light of that because people actually get really hurt. So that's why, there's a line I didn't want to cross that didn't need crossing for this film. I think there's several amazing documentaries out there that seriously tackle these issues, and people should check it out, because we can all at the wrong moment in time fall for something like this, where nobody's immune.
Exactly, and that is true, definitely true. And Chaz, you've been around the business for a long time, so how much what you've seen in your life did you bring into your role?
Well, I luckily have never been seduced into a cult,
Mhm.
but I have played one on TV before. So, I had did American Horror Story cult before I came to this, and in a lot of ways, like, this was kind of, Herbert was kind of reminded me of that, but much, the light side of that. Like, Herbert was somebody who, came in at a vulnerable time in his life, from a trauma, personal, loss, and is looking for something. And I think that everybody can relate to a degree, being in a situation where you're just, at some point in your life going through something, and you're, searching. I think especially like when you're younger, you're looking for that thing and you don't have a great support system intact, and all of this stuff. And it's easy to, get into something that is not, not great. And so, for me, it was purely, fictional, but, super easy to understand and to relate to.
Yeah, because that's one thing I've experienced it with friends that I know in this industry. And then I take them like to where I grew up in East LA, and they're like, "You didn't have this like type of holistic thing?" I'm like, "No, we did." It was like we get I got a different experience completely. And so that's why when I was watching it, I was like, there was a lot of parts that felt familiar to me from people that I know who are in the entertainment industry. And it's a great way of putting it, because we've seen it. I love the fact that you touch upon the religious aspect and the pastor aspect, Evo, about it, and how they've used that manipulation as well. It's not play too much, but I like the way that you use that, because you really cover a lot of bases in the film that makes it fun and makes it interesting as well, but also makes you think. And I think that's what I like about this film. It's a fun film, it's light, but it makes you think a lot about what's going on. Uh, how was it to put everything together? How was it to work with the writing team to make sure that you kind of do that balance, but yet also make it a fun, entertaining film?
Well, the writing team, you're looking at it. To me, I always loved the role of the court jester, because he's the only person, or she, who can make fun of the king without getting their head chopped off, and speak truth to power, because it's all hidden in humor. And I think even today, if you look at some of the best information you'll find out there, is by comedians, Trevor Noah or John Oliver. I mean, that's the best news that's out there in my book. And also it's entertaining. So what's not to like, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the background I came from when working on this, is like, how can we talk about a topic that is very timely and addresses this whole issue of this, critical thinking? Where does this information come from, and why, and from whom, and what's their motivation, right? And that we have seen lately has just, with social media and all this crazy amount of stuff that's out there, where everybody's like, well, is this real? Is this real? Is that real? And so it's a very timely topic. And but if you don't handle it as a message, but as an entertaining film, I think you can explore it really, and have people perhaps think about it, or just be aware of it, or besides being entertained. And so that's what it is. And in terms of the writing, it's just a lot of hours, a lot of research. I do a lot of research before sitting down and working on a screenplay. And then you go through rewrites. You have people who give you feedback, and just it's a slow process that it was challenging, because it's so layered, because you have this documentary, and then you have the story, and then within the story you have a couple of stories. So it was really a big balancing act of getting all these elements in there, not being heavy on either hand, yet having a story progression with escalations, and with conflicts, and with character arcs and developments, and setups, builds, and payoffs, which is very different in a documentary style than it is in a classical narrative format, let's say.
Right. And one last question for both of you, because we've seen it's a perfect, like you said, it's a perfect topic for what we've been going through these days. What are your views to social media, and do you think this is fueling it more, like this ideological type of warfare that we're seeing right now? Because I think your film is something to be watched nowadays to leave a laugh and joke at it, but in the seriousness of it, we're seeing social media playing such a hard role into what's happening. What are your thoughts on that, for both from both of you?
Chaz, you want to take it first?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it is a really weird, kind of scary time, and you know, I think you know things were going in this direction with social media, and then the pandemic really made it worse. You know, I saw an interview, a story about a woman who had been in QAnon and kind of, you know, she came to reality when she was watching the inauguration, and because that wasn't supposed to happen. And, you know, and what she said was that, you know, that ideology, you know, that life is so complicated and so nuanced, and there are so many things wrong with no answer to it. And that, you know, that thinking in QAnon was seductive to her because it was just so simple. You know, there was just, you know, a group of bad guys and then these good people that were trying to fight them. And that was easy and straightforward and simple and a relief. And, you know, I think, you know, in a sense, this film, obviously it's a comedy, but it's about that. Yeah, there's no shortcuts. There's nothing is, you know, life is nuanced. If somebody's trying to sell you, you know, this, you know, simple self-help thing, you know, these silly exercises, it's not real. It's not going to fix you. You know, there's no quick fixes. And again, I think that's kind of, you know, it's not a heavy-handed message film. That's not what this is about. First and foremost, it's fun and funny, but it does, you know, layered make you think about stuff and about, you know, critically thinking before you leap. I so often in the last several years, you know, look at what people have thought and just think about, you know, Occam's razor and that theory that I feel like, you know, has that people have just forgotten, which is that, you know, all things being equal, the simplest answer is generally the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the social media and technology in general is, you know, there's this two sides of it that are fabulous and awful. And, you know, it's kind of the new frontier, and new frontiers are have always this perilous aspect. And I think we have seen some of that. What's amazing to me on a personal level is that people who would not dare behave in a way that, you know, they behave on social media and say things that say so much in person, because it kind of creates this layer and distance, and it's just such a terrible excuse for not being, you know, friendly and have manners and behave in a way that's appropriate. And this whole, you know, you just go on Facebook for 5 minutes and you enter the Pandora's box of insane fights about God knows what. And that's so weird. And it was designed to connect us more, and it's dividing us, but it's also connecting us more.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange thing, and I think it's just so new, and we just have to kind of ride it out and see where it all lands, with the hope that, you know, humanity does kind of figure out, hey, you know, it's the truth usually is somewhere not at the extreme sides.
And I think with comedy, it always helps people think and help people learn. We've seen it over time that a good laugh always seems to, sometimes when you take a step back from that laughter, you're thinking about it a lot more. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping people think about the film, because it is a very good film. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Where can they see it, and when will it be out again, so that the Muse audience could actually watch the film?
So it's coming out May 4th on all the TVOD platforms. We will have links to all of them. So Comcast, iTunes, all of them. On our website, which, if you don't mind, I will mention, which is rebootcampfilm.com, and our Instagram page, which is the handle is Reboot Camp Film as well. And so as soon as we have the links, we will post them there and promote them so that people can find it.
Awesome. Well, Ivo, love the film. Was very happy with it. We got a good
Thank you
laugh.
very much.
Really needed that. Chaz, always love your work. Keep up doing what you're doing, because I love you. Love every time you're on screen. Love seeing you on screen. So
Thanks so much.
thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you, Bob, for coming on to MUSE TV. And we look forward to seeing you soon here on MUSE TV. And don't forget, May 4th, watch the film. You'll enjoy it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having us.